If you guys have hung out with me for a while, you may remember that about a year ago, I created a topic in which I discussed the effects that I believe the freedom to customize just about everything nowadays may have on you. Say you download a food app and you're able to customize your, say for Starbucks, all the things that you can do to a drink. For a pizza, pizza has been a classic customizable thing, but nowadays we have even more options than the options I recall growing up with when I was a kid. Say for me, the most I can remember you could customize about a pizza, it was something like you could pick it to be whatever size you wanted, which the options were usually small, medium, or large. There was no such thing really, or at least it was rare, as an extra, 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 like 60-inch pizza. Like the 24s that they be selling nowadays really feel like they're that massive. And the crust, it was either regular or pan in some instances. We didn't have that crazy ass cheese stuffing in it until some years later. Editing Zam here. I forgot to mention that the topics that you could include were also super limited. I just remember pepperoni, plain cheese. Most of the time, those were your only two options at very basic pizza places. Or pepperoni, sausage, or combo. Combo having things like pepper, black olives, which bleh, maybe onions, and the occasional meat lovers from Pizza Hut. They might have like ham with sausage and pepperoni. I don't remember seeing chicken on pizza anywhere that I went, really. So I think that might have been a newer addition too. And it was just simple. It was crust, pizza sauce, not even pesto. I don't remember hearing about pesto that far back in my younger years, but it just wasn't a common thing. But now that is all over, and sometimes I get sad that I can observe a person being indecisive because they're overwhelmed by choice. So, me personally, when I go somewhere, before I show up at the place, I like to have an idea of what it is that they serve. And then I try to imagine, well, based on what it is that I'm craving currently, that's what I'm going to do. But if I'm going to a place in the name of exploration, I may ask for a suggestion from the seller. Like say, oh, what is your most popular one? What is it that people say they like about it? Is it because it's spicy? Is it because it's fried? Little details like that. But me personally, I usually know what I like to go for. But sometimes I observe that some people just really don't know what to do or how to build something. And I'm asking myself, is it because they're overwhelmed by choice? So they feel like they gotta indulge on building up this monstrosity of a sandwich or pizza or taco or whatever it is? Or is it because they really don't know how to draw food using their mind, kind of like an artist has like a palette and they can choose colors and they know how the picture is going to look like? Well, I have a mental palette of food ingredients and I would know, at least based on my taste, what would go well with what. I really don't have a memory of ever doing something to something that ended up being a bad idea. Like the things at Starbucks that I have tried and shared with you guys, I don't remember regretting adding something to it or taking something out of it. I feel like I have that trained. So, with that preamble out of the way, I thought I would share a different side to that thought about how the ability to customize may induce a stress in you that really shouldn't be there. Now, the question that I thought to myself is, presently, are salespeople really good at what they do? Are they really good at persuading us into buying something, indulging on something, even if we don't intend to or don't try to? Or is it that we are having trouble controlling our impulses? Or is it that we are becoming very easy to impress? And the reason I ask that is because sometimes I see the things that there are ads for, and I see how those things have sold based on reports. Like, you ever go on Amazon and you see some dumb item and maybe you curiously click on it and you see that 10K plus of those units have sold, and you're like, why? How is this selling? Why is this selling? Who are these buyers? So when I see something like that, I'm like, a jar with a bunch of words in it that say something like, oh, what was it that jar said? I think it was like, no fucks given. It was like a jar, just a regular mason jar, and it had like wooden, I think it was, words. It was like a string of words that read, no fucks given, something like that. And then that jar was full of those little tiny wooden words, and that's what was selling. Why? What does that do to you? How is that cute? How is that impactful for you that tens of thousands of people have bought that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it because something is visually appealing? Is it because it represents your sense of humor in present times? Is it that the promotion for it, the marketing for it, someone is doing a good job at it? Or is it that when you go online, and nowadays we have more virtual salespeople than anything, maybe you observed some influencer saying something about it, doing something about it, or maybe it featured in the background of their video, and then you're like, oh, let me zoom into that, see what that is. And then you look that up and you happen to find it, and it was like an indirect sale. What is happening? Because the reason I say this, and this will sound like I'm just dull and boring, especially as someone who likes to hold on to my resources because I don't have a lot to begin with, but I just want to figure out why it is so easy to sell someone something. Is it because you yourself as a consumer don't have a restraint? You don't have control. And another reason that inspires me saying that is a lot of times I get people come through my line and they say, I came only for 3 things and I'm leaving with $200 worth of things. Clearly you can afford it. But there's that part of me that's like, why are you having trouble controlling that impulse? Why are you having trouble committing to your checklist? You said you came here for butter, milk, and lettuce. Go for the butter, milk, and the lettuce. If there's another time when you're looking to get creative in your kitchen, maybe set aside another time with a budget that you're willing to lose and be like, okay, I got $50 to bullshit. So I'm gonna go to the store and bullshit. Anything that exceeds my $50, I will either modify my idea, cancel it, or modify the bullshit. But it just really makes me sad that all I'm seeing is, in my opinion, people having trouble controlling their impulses and being easily manipulated into being sold something too, easily manipulated into buying something. And in a sense, that's one of the things that makes me not be aggressive here on my channel about please subscribe, please like and comment so that I can get an algorithm boost. I'm not ever going to tell you guys what my website is where I sell my clothes, because if you need something, I want you to do the work and find it. Let's say that for some reason you like the shirt and you want to find it. Just be like, dual color block, cream or tan, cream or white, knit sweater, and see what options come up. And maybe you'll find the exact one, maybe you'll find a similar one, but you did the work to find it, as opposed to me going like, by the way, you guys, this is on sale, this is how you find it, follow the link in the description. You maybe did not even have the intention of buying a new goddamn sweater, But because someone put it in your face, now that idea has been planted into your brain, which is already possibly a fatigued and vulnerable brain, and all of a sudden you succumb to it, that just makes me feel so bad and sad, because I think that, sure, as the consumer, it's your responsibility to be able to resist the temptation. But I also think that me as a business person as well, I think it's my responsibility to not take advantage of that. Like, if I had an audience primarily of children, I know how easily impressionable they are. Some people look at that and they're proud of that. They're like, well, since children are the way they are, let me put this at eye level on the shelves at stores. Let me make sure that I repeat this many times throughout my video. Let me make sure that I add additional colors and sound effects to it. I just find that appalling. It's a manipulation tactic, and you guys have heard me say pretty often, especially recently, because I've tried to keep it relevant and connected in as many areas as possible. But you know how I like to say that it's hard to scam me or convince me into something, indulging in something, or subscribing to something, or being dominated or submitted into something. Like, I just want to know what it is that makes it easy for people to be easily manipulated and sometimes fucking gullible. Like, sometimes I have some old people come over and tell me that they were scammed into something, and it like makes me feel so sad and hurt, because I'm thinking, thank God my grandma doesn't indulge in like online things, but that could have been my grandma or my mom, if my mom were like that, you know, with tendencies of being a spender. So I just want to know if it's truly healthy long term for people to be continuously bombarded with opportunities to consume something, or if it is responsible to encourage them to think something through and be a little more critical and more question oriented, like me. Like, a lot of people may look at me as a moody bastard or someone who doesn't know how to have fun because of how frugal I try to be, but try to think about it though, what it means for me. Everything that I have, I can manage independently, and it doesn't bring me any level of stress. But sometimes I see online the process of returns that people have, because maybe you have buyer's remorse and you have like 10 items to return. You received it immediately, but now you changed your mind, or maybe you bought four of the same thing because you wanted to try different colors, different sizes. What is this? Is it because you have the opportunity to sample something and you know you can get your money back? What if everything ever was all sales final? Unless something is evidently damaged, or manufacturer's defect applies, or something spoils, or we sold you something that's spoiled. That's what I'm saying. That's what worries me the most, because maybe this is the thing that's legit changing the composition of people's brains. And that's why we're seeing the behaviors that we're seeing from all this consumerism. For me, my greatest source of pride is going to be that I am firm with what I say. When I say, no, I came here for water and an apple, I leave with water and an apple. Not, oh, let me try this cereal. Let me try this frozen thing. Let me try this and this and that and the other. Like, no, sometimes if I walk by something that I realize I might need, like, oh shit, toothpaste, I'm running low when I'm here, let me get it. Sure, that's fine. But I just cannot imagine a life in which I step out of my essentials. And I think that, sure, it's a joy to be able to explore things in life, but what are the things that are shaping your experience? What are the things that you really like to say that you experienced? Because for me, those dumbass different flavors of cereal that come out seasonally, I don't need that. I don't need to be trying pumpkin flavored cereal now. Like, I never would have considered that. I never would have thought about it. It might be good, but I just don't feel the need or the impulse to try it when there's opportunities for pumpkin literally everywhere else. See what I mean? I just feel controlled and manipulated. I just don't like how that feels. I don't have control over my will anymore. So, is it the responsibility of the consumer to know when to not succumb to something? Or is it the responsibility of the salesperson, which the goal of the salesperson is just that, to sell you things? But should you be mindful of who you're targeting to sell something to? Because I have always said, I know I have the potential of being a good salesperson because I have done that. When I was new at my job, I had an ability to upsell like you have no idea. And it's because I was honest and people just trusted me and my demeanor and everything. I learned that I have that power. But because I know I have that power, I became scared of it because I wouldn't want for it to turn into something that gets out of control. So when someone asks me something, I always give them an honest answer. No, I haven't tried it. No, I wouldn't know what to do with it. But now that you put it in my mind, I would consider doing this and that, but don't quote me on it. You know, something like that. Yeah, you guys. So I thought I would explore this topic, I guess, from this perspective, because I just think that that's what's happening nowadays. I think that we are so vulnerable and overstimulated that we're having trouble controlling impulses, and that's what's leading us to get in trouble sometimes, especially financially. Like I said before, it just makes me really sad how easy it is to sell someone something. And then of course you may get the occasional person who values things and they're like, oh, this little tiny thing is like $5. Nah, I don't need that. And I like that. I like when I see someone showing restraint. I like when they are disciplined. There are other times in which I see people just giving into that pressure, and because it goes against what I describe myself to be, which is true to myself, I look at me committing to my plan, which is the water, the apple, and maybe the incidental toothpaste that I may need. I like to stick to that and be like, no one in this planet can make me change this. When you walk at a mall, the last time I was at a mall, I had two people try to sell me something. It was this stupid cream, lotion, some kind of skin treatment. She was describing how nice it smells and how nice it feels. And when you have one layer, sure, it feels different, but when you layer this with the other serum, see how shiny and softer it leaves it. Maybe it had like a dye in it that made it look like that, and she knew which one would match my skin tone. So, do you want to leave with this jar today? And I'm like, oh, how much is it? Oh, 50 fucking dollars for this little jar when I already have my routine? I'm good. Oh, but it could really clear up your skin even more. And I'm like, sweetie, the job that I have, the kind of schedule that I have, the amount of no concern and lack of interest that I have in fashion impedes me from being interested in this. And this thing, this smells nice, but I have things that smell nicer already. I have my routine going on. It works fine for me. Thank you. Good luck with your sale. I get it. Maybe you get paid by commission. You gotta eat too, but like I've said before, I like to indulge in something because I discover it on my own and I feel the impulse to give in to that curiosity. And then that's when I realized that, oh, I discovered something great and I discovered it at a great time. I'm glad, I'm proud. But when someone pushes me into something and that's how I discover something, I'm like, sure, it was cool, I guess, but I'm not impressed. And because I'm so freaking hard to impress, I think that's why I took responsibility for myself and I said, I better not allow myself to give in to things so easily because I'm definitely going to be offending everybody I stumble upon. So yeah, you guys, that's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you relate to anything that I said or have any thoughts in general, please share them, because I think that this is probably the topic that's been fascinating me the most, given that we're heading into that holiday season that's incredibly dreadful. And I work retail. I see the stress in people's eyes and face and how they're shuffling and they're on the phone having an argument about how much cranberry sauce to buy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'll never in my life be a Thanksgiving host. And I'm so glad that I wouldn't know how to prepare a turkey, not even to save my life. It's just stress, responsibility, and bullshit that I don't have to worry about. And I don't have to spoil anybody, and people won't feel entitled to criticize me for the free food that I'm providing them. So yay for me for being by myself and not having to worry about that shit. Because I was that kid. I was that kid who was an asshole one time during Thanksgiving when my mom tried to prepare it using a technique that my grandma used, because grandma's turkey was great. And I thought, damn, I don't like the turkey. It's just flavorless and dry and stuff. And mom knew what happened. She was experimenting, she was trying things, and looking back, I'm like, my mom did much more than I'll ever do for Thanksgiving, which is nothing. I'm glad that I have the memory of me being an asshole, because now I have that memory alive and I can go back and evaluate myself and be like, look at me being such a punk ass bitch, thinking that I can criticize my mom when I wouldn't even be able to clean the damn turkey. So, it's fine. Thanks, mom. Like, you really tried. You spoiled me more than I ever deserved.